There's a lot of fuckery going on in California right now, and aside from how tragic it is and all the thoughts and prayers, there is one through line that exists in every criticism of this event, and that is bureaucratic incompetence. Now, this has been made evident by the people that have been hired to serve in the fire department and their policies, hiring policies, etc., as well as the reduction in budgets and resources and the hydrants and all that. And that has been very well documented and covered by the free independent press and here on social, so kudos to everybody. But there's a far bigger and more glaring issue that is coming once the dust settles, and that is insurance. And never has there been more of an obvious display of bureaucratic incompetence than what's about to happen and has already happened as it relates to homeowners insurance and fire insurance in California. Because people like to get mad at CEOs this year, but they tend to not understand the delicate operation and value that insurance companies actually provide. And that is about to be made extremely evident to anybody willing to understand and pay attention. So in the interest of length and digestibility, I'm going to massively simplify this issue, but I would encourage you to look up this information on your own and see what I'm saying. California is the most heavily populated U.S. state, and there's a lot of expensive homes and properties in California and a lot of people that have money. Insurance companies want to insure people. That's how they make money. But their entire business is premised on the idea that they will collect more money than they have to pay out, which means that the total sum of the task of what an insurance company does is mitigate and understand risk. That risk often makes insurance companies the most advanced and most knowledgeable about what is about to happen, and their anticipation monitor is more sophisticated than perhaps any anticipation mechanism of any business or any bureaucrat ever. They're on it because that's their entire business. Their business is to measure and mitigate future risk. But bureaucrats, especially in California, will make policies and rules to blame the insurance companies for what goes on, and they will create policies that will run those insurance companies out of business. And that's exactly what happened in California. This is exactly the playbook of how every leftist bureaucrat demon completely destroys people. They create policies that make a business unable to operate, and then they blame that business for the tragedy. Then they pull at your emotional heartstrings and say that if it weren't for more government and us having more money and power, this could have been prevented, which is the reason it happened in the first place. So California will reduce fire mitigation, change the way that they hire people based on color or gender or whatever else. They'll stop pushing preventative measures to prevent wildfires from happening. They'll stop controlled burns. They'll stop the way that water is directed, the reservoirs, all of those things that prevent or could hopefully prevent or reduce the amount of risk that a wildfire would cause. Then through inflation, red tape, and a multitude of other different reasons, not drilling for more oil, increasing the cost of labor through other red tape and bureaucratic practices, the cost of repairing these homes, if they were to be damaged, goes up. Spend money recklessly, create inflation, print money endlessly. So the insurance companies will need more money to rebuild your house should that happen in the first place. Add that on top of all the other risks that happen as a result of what I just mentioned. Then bureaucrats in California will say, well, you can't increase your policy more than a certain amount per year. Then even as early as a month ago, they passed things that say, oh, well, an insurance company will say, this is an extremely high risk area. We're no longer going to provide insurance policies for that area because the risk is too high. We'll go bankrupt. And interestingly enough, one of the things that insurance companies do is insurance companies actually have insurance on their insurance. This is called reinsurance. And wouldn't it be interesting to know that every single state in America, other than California, allows for the cost of reinsurance to be factored into the policy rates for those coverages. The only state that doesn't allow it is California. So what ends up happening is that insurance companies pull out of the state entirely, meaning that there's less competition, which means that the rate can go up for the people that choose to stay serving that market. But what's even crazier, and I would encourage you to look this up, is that new laws have recently, as recent as in the last few months, been put in place in California. That if you choose to insure in the state of California, that you have to insure in high-risk areas. Up to 85% of your coverages have to be in those high-risk areas. And again, I encourage you to go and do the research and look for yourself. I'm trying to make this short and digestible. So they do two things at the same time. They make it highly likely that there will be some disaster. Then they force the companies to insure those disaster-prone areas. By decree. That's what bureaucrats do. And I think it goes without saying, the cost of fire insurance and homeowners insurance in California, once the dust settles on this, is going to be astronomical. And I can guarantee you that the absolute first thing that the state will do, and is probably already doing, is first, blame the weather. Second, they will blame the insurance companies for backing out, for being inhumane. Third, they will say that it is only humane for the state to help assist in these costs, meaning that all the taxpayers will have to foot the bill. Then they will put even more taxes and regulations and red tape in place so that when insurance companies do choose to do business there, that they will get massacred should it happen again. All the while doing absolutely nothing to mitigate the risk or prevent it from happening again. Then comes selection time, they'll blame Trump, they'll talk about his rhetoric, his non-unifying message in this time of need. They'll pull at your emotional heartstrings and have people that were emotionally destroyed or financially destroyed by this. They'll blame the CEOs, they'll say that we're going to do new climate-related things, and they'll say if you put us back in office, we'll do more than any Republican would do. And then they'll put in more laws and more regulations that will make insurance so cost prohibitive that will be untenable. Insurance companies will get blamed. Big bad evil corporations will get blamed. They'll seek to punish them or at least destroy them in the court of public opinion. And the cycle will reset as it always does. The real question is how long and how much destruction has to happen in this country and in a lot of ways the world at large that is a direct result of bureaucratic incompetence. It destroys your cities, it destroys your town, it destroys the future, it destroys your children, it destroys you financially, and then they gaslight you about it. But the sad reality of this all, the bureaucratic incompetence included, is that the real people to blame, I hate to say it, is the people for putting them back in office and allowing these things to happen over and over again. And if it so happens to be that the leftist cohort, leftist voting bloc in America suddenly starts to catch wind of this and realize that they can't keep putting these people in, they got a backup plan for that. Ship in, naturalize, and make citizens of an entirely new voting bloc that is primarily consistent of dependents, that will be ostensibly forced to continue voting for more handouts. That's why the money, specifically in California, Los Angeles County, etc., went to making sure that they were comfortable and getting situated in America, not that the existing citizenry that pays all the taxes was protected from this type of clearly preventable, at the very least, mitigatable disaster. And until these soggy-brained, sad people start to understand that the right is far more than mean tweets, harsh words, abortio, and supposed tax cuts for the rich, they will understand that the left is emotionally manipulating you to financial ruin. And this is case in point, example number 1 billion. Will they learn?